So we already talked about part one, church planting, and when you come, we're going to spend more time actually going in even deeper. But that was more like really a 5 minute introduction, 6 minute introduction about it. But the next part is church planting in Frankfurt. So why Frankfurt? Well, Paul oftentimes would take the gospel to very strategic cities. He was trying to create a movement. He was trying to spread the gospel. It was hard burned for Jesus. He said, "Woe if I do not preach the gospel." And so he planned to reach very strategic, commercial, cultural influencing cities. Now, when a gospel movement is happening, we just want it to go everywhere. It's not only in the city. But at the very beginning, we're asking God help us to make an impact here in Germany. So Frankfurt is one of those cities, particularly in Germany. And for many reasons, it is the finance hub for for Germany. It is also the finance hub for kind of mainland Europe. And it's quickly becoming and possibly becoming the finance hub for the EU. Due to Brexit, which that is where Britain voted to leave Europe, the question became banks that had their hub in London for the European Union, which is a consortium of, like I said, I don't remember, 27, 28 states, could be more, now have a question as to where they need an EU presence, because London will no longer be in the EU because they voted to leave. So Frankfurt, although we certainly didn't anticipate this part back then, Frankfurt could become the major hub for finance for all of Europe, the European Union now. Germany has become a pagan land, and it's hard for people to recognize that because of the fact that of the churches that are everywhere, and the state church presence. But the reality, the evangelical population is probably at best 3%, could be much less than that, could be 2%. And even then, there's some questions about, even the gospel being preached and within some of these churches that even confess evangelicalism. But, I'll be an optimist. Okay, so let's say 3% out of 82 million people. So there's a lot of people. And so Frankfurt as a city, 730,000, is growing. Check out Wikipedia. They have a Frankfurt, there's a great article in there put out by Frankfurt. You can learn a lot about Frankfurt in that way. Frankfurt has the state church. What is the state church? The state church has two branches, Catholic Church and Lutheran Church. And so these are churches that are sponsored by the state. So people literally pay taxes, comes out of their paycheck, and like 2 or 3%, and it goes to the church. Now you can elect not to do that. And in former East Germany, which still has a heavy presence of atheism, about 60%, it's very different than West Germany. But West Germany, a lot of people are still connected to the state church. And so, they say, they're part of the church, but they've seen a lot of corruption. They've had a lot of questions. So they question the reality of the institution. But for many of them, to be German is to be Lutheran, or to be German is to be Catholic. And any other group, in reality, is considered a sect. It's considered suspicious. And so it's a little bit of a challenge then to just come in and say, "Hey, I'm planting a church." I had a conversation with a young lady. I just said, "Hey, tell us more about this area, Balkenheim, which we're targeting while you guys are here." And she's like, "Yeah, well," told me a few things, and I said, "Yeah, we're here interested in planting a church in Balkenheim." And I mean, that conversation shut down. She jumped on her bike and she was out of there. She was scared to death. Like, what kind of people are you? You're crazy. Maybe Jehovah's Witnesses, those kind of things. So we're joining. This church will be part of the Bund Freikirchliche Pfingstgemeinde. Say that 3 times real fast. Which essentially means Association of Free Pentecostal Churches. It's the largest charismatic group. And so we're part of that, and they have some history, 50 years of history, but you have to put that in context again with the Reformation. We're talking 500 years of history. So if they're looking to history as kind of a benchmark and always true north for them, kind of to navigate what's right and what's wrong, you say 50 years of history is really not that old. But you come in as an independent charismatic, very, very suspicious. Now, all gets a little bit turned on its head when you come to a city, a little even more so like Frankfurt, because Frankfurt's a very intercultural city, much like Antioch would have been in the day of Paul. Convergence of nations, I've mentioned that to you. Many languages being spoken. I mean, immigrants coming in hordes, refugees coming in just massive numbers. Frankfurt, the numbers of the cities is growing at a rapid rate. I mean, I think last year they added 20,000 maybe new people. So, next 10 years it's probably going to be over a million, but that's not counting the greater metropolitan area. So it's primed for a church planting movement. When we chose Frankfurt, part of this BFP organization, there was only one German speaking charismatic BFP church in the city of 730,000. So we said, oh God, I need hundreds of churches. So this uprooted nature, this intercultural convergence creates a dynamic where people's hearts are so open. They've been removed from their connection. They need friendships. They need touch points. And so we're just saying, hey, we're the church. Come be a part of community. Come, learn, draw near to God with us. Come, let's fellowship together. Let's have fun. Let's seek God. Let's see God do a great work. And let's pray together and see the gospel work in our lives and in our city. So why Frankfurt? Massive need. It's a strategic center that can touch not only Germany, but all of Europe. It's an intercultural city. It's poised for a missional multiplicational movement. And it's just right because people are coming in, and it creates this dynamic where people's hearts are open. So that's why Frankfurt. Let's pray for that. Pray that God gives us opportunity.